Great.
Yes.
Great. And so we are recording this at your request. And so I'll back up and just explain a little bit about this conversation tonight. It is December 15th, 2021, and we're talking about Sunnyvale City Redistricting. We have Jaqui Guzman, who's the Deputy City Manager, and she's going to explain a little bit about why we're going through this and how redistricting works. And then between the two of us, she and I will walk you through what the maps currently look like and what some of the proposals are looking like, and they directly impact your neighborhood, which is why we greatly appreciate your time and would love to get more input from anyone that lives in your neighborhood in particular, because you're going to be directly impacted potentially by some of these maps. So I'll turn it over to Jaqui. Jaqui, if you'd like to lead on.
Sure. Would it be helpful to have a presentation? Because I do have a presentation queued up, or would you prefer more of an informal?
I have a particular question from one of the neighbors, but I'm sure you would cover it in your presentation. Maybe you should just do that.
All right, I will do that. And since it's recorded, it might make sense as well.
Okay.
All right. So let me know when you can see my full screen.
Yeah.
And all right, great. So I'm just going to give you an overview of redistricting. So as you know, the city of Sunnyvale moved to district-based elections in our last election cycle, November 2020. We have 6 districts and directly elected mayor. And state law requires that Sunnyvale redraw its 6 council district boundaries with new 2020 census data. And this keeps population counts within each district relatively equal. This task is normally given to councils or elected governing bodies, but council has decided to appoint a redistricting commission. So this is a redistricting commission made up of residents in Sunnyvale. We have 7 commissioners and 5 alternates that are managing the redistricting process. And what the redistricting commission is doing is, in addition to overseeing the process, they're holding public hearings, they're reviewing preliminary draft maps, and they'll be making a formal recommendation to the city council of 3 to 5 maps and 1 recommended map. There are specific criteria that we need to take into account when we're redistricting. And the first is population equality. And that really means that our districts have to be relatively equal, and the threshold, well, I'll talk a little bit more about that actually in the next slides. And we have to adhere to the Federal Voting Rights Act. And really there, what we have to pay attention to is that there's no racial gerrymandering. There are state criteria in addition to the federal criteria that we have to pay attention to. And those are in priority order: geographic contiguity, communities of interest, easily identifiable boundaries, and compactness. And this, we also, yes?
I'm sorry, would you like questions later or as you go?
You are welcome to interrupt and ask questions, absolutely.
Is there something we should know about the colors of these areas indicated on the map in terms of?
No, not necessarily. No, it's just a map of a general map of the city, and the colors, at least in this one, are not necessarily relevant to the redistricting. It's just a map of the city. So the last thing we have to take into account is that we can't favor or discriminate against any political party when we're drawing the maps. So going back to the primary criteria, which is population equality, what the total population is based on, not just eligible voters, but all population count in the city, regardless of age, regardless of citizenship status. It's all population is counted. And when you're looking at population equality between districts, some deviation is acceptable, but the deviation between the largest and the smallest district has to be less than 10%. So the reason that we take a look at these districts every 10 years is because there are shifts in population where there's development and new growth. And oftentimes when we look at the population, it changes between census. And so they want us to rebalance every 10 years using that new census data. So when we look at Sunnyvale, the total population in 2020, based on the census, is 156,000, which means that the ideal population of each of our 6 council districts should be about 26,000. When we compare that to the 2010 census population, that was a total of 140,000. And so we've had a growth of about 16,000 throughout the city. And what we know is that that population is not evenly distributed throughout the city. We also have already done quite a bit of work of trying to collect the communities of interest. And you'll see here, this map does look at the different neighborhood associations, which came up as strong communities of interest in the city and that we should pay attention to. And so the Redistricting Commission has decided to respect the recognized communities of interest in the city and making sure we don't break them up when we draw the lines, as well as trying to keep some of the mobile home parks together in one district. The council also has its own redistricting goals that it set out and told the Redistricting Commission about. And those are really 2. They want to preserve the structure of the current districts with minimal changes to meet that population equality. And the reason for that is we just went through a districting process 2 years ago. We had extensive community outreach. The map was developed by a group of community members. And largely what we've heard is that community members are happy with the way that districts are drawn. We do know that we have to make some changes, and council would like to minimize that disenfranchisement. And what that means is, everyone who is in even districts 2, 4, and 6 voted for a council member in November 2020. The folks in odd districts presumably will vote for a council member in November 2022. However, if somebody was in an odd district last election round and the boundaries changed so that now they're in an even district, then they will not have the opportunity to vote in the next cycle. So they will have gone 2 cycles without being able to vote for a council member. And council really is concerned about that and wants to minimize that change. So one other thing that they'll say about that is what we know based on the census data is that our largest district is District 2 and our smallest district is District 3. So we know that there has to be a change. And the reason that we're talking to you all today is because there's been some conversations about does it make sense to change the Las Palmas area into a different district, move it out of District 2 where it's currently at and put it either in District 1 or District 3. And so really we want to get your input on what, your community, you're considered a community of interest. What is the sentiment in the community? Do you feel like you have more in common with folks in District 1, folks in District 2, or folks in District 3? And so we'd love your feedback on that. I also want to invite you to consider drawing a map. You are welcome to use one of our mapping tools and look at the different options of maps that people have already drawn and potentially draw your own map and encourage your friends and neighbors and family in Sunnyvale to participate. And of course, you can always share any ideas or thoughts you have with me, and my email is here, jguzman@sunnyvale.ca.gov. And I'll just share some next steps. We're still accepting community proposals, so map proposals. The map submission deadline is January 3rd. We are going to be publishing those maps on January 6th, 7 days before our hearing, which will be held on January 13th. This will be a joint hearing between the City Council and the Redistricting Commission to review the maps. And potentially the commission will narrow to 3 to 5 focus maps for further refinement. So that's really an opportunity for you to address the council and the commission and tell them what your opinions are around what should happen with your neighborhood. Here is our website. And actually with that, I will stop sharing. And I can reshare and show you what our website looks like. This is our website, sunnyvale.ca.gov/redistricting. It has some basic, sorry about that. I think I might have gone to the wrong screen.
And I do have it open if you want me to share my screen. I've got it open ready for you if you need it.
Yeah, give me a second. I know I have it open. Here we go. Sorry about that. Okay, can you see my screen now?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So this is our website. It has some really good basic information on redistricting, a really nice short video to give you a sense of the process. And if you go down, you can see where our Redistricting Commission meetings are. And you will see that we have this line called mapping tools. And so, and our next meeting information, so you can join the Zoom meeting. So you can go to our mapping tools and you can see where you can look at the map. So what I'm going to do now is just go to the mapping tool. It's called Dave's Redistricting app, and we can actually look at the proposals and the different things that residents are proposing for the maps. And so first, I'm happy to go to the current districts. So this is, I'm going to show you a map of our current district boundary lines, and I'll show you exactly where Las Palmas Park is, and you can see where it is in the districts, and where we can go back and look at where other folks are proposing to move it to. And sorry, it takes sometimes a little while to load. Elaine, I don't know if there's anything else you would like to add before we look at the maps.
I've actually loaded all the maps because it is such a slow program. It has
You
so
want
much
to
data.
stop and just have you share? Since
Yeah,
you
if you're okay with that, I have it ready
absolutely.
for you.
Absolutely.
And so does anyone have any questions for Jackie before we look at the details of the maps? So far, so good?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Great. So let me show you. And we just had somebody join. So give me just a second to make sure they can come in. Looks like they made it in. Excellent. Good. So can you see the current district map here? Mm-hmm. All right, great. And so,
can you maximize that, Elaine, so we can see it bigger?
is that easier to see?
Yeah.
Okay, great. And so down here is the pocket that we're talking about. So now the colors matter. Before you were asking about the colors of the maps, now they matter. So this bluish color is District 1. I would call this purple, that's District 3. The green happens to be District 2.
Mm-hmm.
Over here is District 4, District 5, and District 6. And as she mentioned, District 2 is the largest, and I believe you said District 3 is the smallest, correct?
Yes.
So it turns out that this little pocket here is quite an opportunity to very gently and in a small way rebalance the population. And so that's one of the reasons we wanted to speak with you directly on this. So you're going to see the maps focusing on changing this in District 2. Now, everybody's been in District 2, they've already gotten to vote. So if one gets moved to District 1 or District 3, you'll actually get to vote again. So it's a double bonus. Instead of you've lost your chance to vote, you actually get a chance to vote again. We do not know who the candidates are for District 1 and District 3. It's just the concept of, do you feel like your community is more like the people on the District 1 side or more like the people in the District 3 side as far as community goes?
Or do you feel strongly that you want to be in District 2? I mean, that's also an option.
That's a very good point. That's also an option. So I am having the Zoom block my ability. So give me just a second to pull this out and bring it down. There we go. Now I can see the tabs. So the next tab is an example of a map where it takes the whole thing and it brings that whole little bottom section of District 2, brings it to District 1, and then takes this block here that was in District 1 and moves it to District 3. And so our first question is on this map that's number 73274. What's your perspective on being able to go all into District 1? This is where we need your input.
That was actually the basis of one of the questions that I was forwarded. How do we know the makeup of the district choices? Some of us have lived here longer than others. Is there something that other people are using for criteria, such as economic growth or racial what is it? Makeup or?
Yes, and we do have some statistics based on the 2020 census data that tells us about the different districts. And I can send you that data and you can share it out with your group. What I recall from District 1 is it's a district that has a really high rate of single family homes.
Wait, this is district which?
District 1, the blue one.
The blue one.
Yeah, okay.
So mostly has single family homes. It is a high income area, an area that has, I think, a high number of registered voters. And one of the districts that has a larger white population, as I recall.
Okay. Do you recall the others?
I'd have to go back and look. I know District 2 is one that has a lot more high density, so multifamily units in downtown, as well as a bit more diversity in terms of population demographics.
This is Peggy. I have a question.
Yes.
Thank you. I didn't understand that moving us to District 1 would move another area out of District 1. Is that what I saw?
Yes.
That's this particular proposal. There are many ways that this can be done. And at this point, the city is not making any recommendations or proposals. This is what's been submitted by members of the public.
So I guess without the information that Alice is talking about, numbers especially, it's hard for us to make a recommendation and saying, well, yeah, we want to be there, because I don't feel right changing someone else and then just, sending the dominoes falling. So let's look at another one.
Yeah, totally fine. And I think that, Jackie's right that this is just one scenario. I think the concept we were looking for is more of your area. How do you feel about being in District 1 as opposed to, don't worry about the District 3. We will talk with them separately.
Got it.
Yeah, and so from this perspective, do you feel like this part of the community is better kept together because there are other versions of maps where they're divided out?
I do feel we belong in District 1. we've been here since 1979, and I just have a feeling that's especially more than where we are now.
Good. Good.
You have an opinion?
No, I agree with you 100%.
Excellent. Okay, good. And we do have other attendees, and you're not on video. Would you, some of the others that have joined us, would you mind sharing your perspective as well while we're on this map before I go to the next map? I see there's Jerry and Barbara and Richard. Anyone? There we go. Jerry, yeah, tell us your perspective, please.
Right. These districts have been set up for a very short period of time, but maybe a year or two.
Right.
And changing them at this point, to me, is not a big deal from the standpoint of making the change. If they'd been set up in one of these fashions as proposed, then that's the way they would have been set up at that time. So making a change, I don't think it's a big deal, but I think that from my perspective, I certainly and my wife feel that we belong more in District 1 than we do in the other district. I'm not sure that I don't see the numbers here. I'm not sure the numbers. What's the green one?
It's the District 2 is the green one, and
Yeah,
the
okay.
blue is District 1. Yes.
So
Okay.
I think that we have more in common with District 1 than we do with District 2.
Excellent.
I don't know about the other changes that are proposed of shifting somebody from the blue to the purple, what their thoughts are about how they fit in. Maybe they think that's great. But from our perspective, I think that would be better there. But again, these districts haven't existed for long. If they'd been drawn differently from the start, then we wouldn't have been having this conversation.
Right.
But I thought as soon as I saw it from the initial proposal a couple of years ago, we just didn't seem to fit in with the District 2. It belonged in the blue area, which is District 1.
In District 1. Okay, good.
I have a comment too. This is Pamela under Richard.
Oh, thank you.
One of the concerns I have, and I agree with what everybody else has said, it feels like we are more a part of District 1. And part of that is that if you split our area off, you are dividing the school district. All of us at Las Palmas have gone to or had our kids go to Cumberland. And so we're kind of part of that neighborhood and those people in a sense. And so that's why it feels a little odd to be saying that it would be appropriate to be part of District 2 or District 3.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah,
Excellent.
that's a point that we have heard as well.
Great. Anyone else want to say anything before I go on to the next map?
I imagine that part of the equation that people are weighing is that if everyone wants their opinion, therefore their vote to make a difference, if you're set in a population with one representative and the people around you have different perspectives, then that minimizes the chance that your point of view would be heard. Is that pretty much why people are, I mean, it may sound like a very basic question, but.
Absolutely. This is why communities of interest are important. The whole philosophy around the communities of interest, you just explained beautifully. It's you want to, communities of interest have a shared vision and perspective and would like their elected representatives to share that. And so if there is a community of interest that's a strong community of interest in a district, then they are more, and they're not broken up, they are more likely to be able to elect representatives of their choice. And so this is why it's really important from our perspective as city representatives to go out to the community and hear what are your interests and who do you feel belongs to your community of interest.
Thank you.
Well said. Barbara, would you like to say something? I've got a line that says Barbara. I don't know if it's Barbara there, but haven't heard from you yet. Nothing yet? Okay, totally fine. I'm going to check. I'm going to share the next map with you. Now notice this one took Las Palmas and brought it into District 3 and left this part of District 2 where it is. So focusing on your area with what I just heard, this map is that, am I understanding you correctly there?
So you have a bunch of indicators underneath all of our pictures of characteristics, I see. And when you put your cursor on a map, or how do you get the relevant characteristics for District 3 to be visible?
Are you talking about over here, or are you
To the
talking
right
about
of the
just
screen.
to the right of the screen? To the right
Yeah.
of the screen, yeah, to the right of the screen. Ah, to the right of the screen. Yes, here's your video. So over here, you're talking about?
Yes.
Okay, Jackie, I have to have you address that part. I was-
Sure, yes. So this is precinct detail, so it won't tell you for the entire district, but it'll tell you for the precinct,
Okay.
voting precinct. So those are parts of the district. So if you go to the left, top left, and you'll see that there's like kind of a pinkish purple thing, and it has precincts.
Yeah.
You can go to blocks, not there, but more on top by the little brush paint, the paintbrush.
Paintbrush over here. Got it. Here, precinct. Yes.
You can, yes, so you can do it by county, by block, by city, and it'll give you different data. And unfortunately, it doesn't do it by district. But if you go to, there's a statistics tab, also at the top. If you click on that statistics tab, Elaine,
Right here. Yep. It's just,
Yeah.
it's hiding under the video. That's why I'm struggling.
you can click on that and you can see the data here. So it'll tell you the size of the districts as they're proposed, the deviation. You'll see that deviation is 7.54. So that meets the threshold of less than 10%. These are population balanced. And then you can see the partisan lean, you can see some demographic data. And if you keep scrolling to the right, you'll see even more data.
Over there, which I can't
How to
scroll right now.
read this.
Okay. And so then coming back to the question of the map is from your community of interest perspective, you had mentioned that you would prefer to be in D1 than D3. So in the way they've divided this one, I assume this would not be the map that you'd be most excited about. Do you have any thoughts that you'd like to share about this map?
It looks like gerrymandering in South Carolina or something, especially the purple.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to say that it looks to me like you're splitting it down Rubus Drive, and I would be surprised to see that we wouldn't be in the same district as our neighbors. It makes sense to me that we'd be in the same district together rather than splitting them up like that.
Okay. And Jackie, I think the reason this is because it's by the precinct, right? That's what was causing this.
Yeah, so we do it by, it doesn't necessarily have to be by the precinct, but it has to be by the census block.
Census block, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And that was just how they divided it.
Yeah,
Okay.
we can't break up the census blocks, and sometimes the census blocks are drawn a little bit in interesting ways. But, I understand your point that it looks like there's like a little arm coming out. And one of the criteria is to really try to make these compact. So, that's a fair point that this District 3 in this case doesn't look very compact.
Okay, good. Anyone else want to say anything about this one before we look at the next map?
Don't care for it.
Okay, thank you. I'm taking notes, so this is good. This is why we asked for your input. Excellent. Okay, so now this next map does several things, but we're once again focusing on your area in particular. So now you see they kept all of this in District 1 and took this little piece of District 2 and left it in District 2. This is the Cherry Orchard Apartments. So tell me your thought about this one.
That still make it less than 10% deviation in population? For District
Yes,
3 is too big?
6%.
I mean. well,
Yes. So this one is balanced.
Okay,
Good question.
I don't have a comment. I mean, it doesn't affect us directly, but it still makes no sense to have this sort of piece hanging down.
So you feel like it doesn't make sense to have the little drop?
No, just look,
Okay. I think the reason the person drew this map was because Cherry Orchard was multifamily. It fit more, they felt it fit more in downtown rather than single family homes. So that's why they showed that as an alternative option. But
well, that's actually, I think, accurate.
Does that small piece border on Matilda or the turning into Sunnyvale, Saratoga there? Is that what that is?
let me see if I can get it in deeper. This is El Camino and this is Matilda, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
that-
got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else? Jerry, you want to say anything? I'm going to pick on you because you're smiling. Nothing more? Okay. Alice, did you have any other thoughts?
no, this one seems to be my preference of what we've seen.
So you do like this one?
Yeah,
Okay. And you want to share why?
I'm thinking that it divides up the compactness of your neighbors in school districts more compactly. I don't know.
Okay. Okay. And then I think this one, this last map was very similar. It's affecting District 5, so I'm going to leave that last map off. Jackie, are you aware of any other maps that showed a variation in their area?
Those are kind of the basic ones that I've seen, but again, we have, our deadline is not until January 3rd, so there may be others that are proposed. What I will say is all of those map proposals will be published on our website on January 6th. And so you can go and look at those. You're also welcome to join us at our hearing on January 13th, when we'll be discussing all of the maps and sort of grouping them together. And the commission will potentially be selecting some focus maps to continue refining. So that's a good opportunity for you to go learn about all of the different proposals, give your input to the commission, who will be narrowing down the maps and making a recommendation to council.
Great. And one more point, the Sunnyvale Redistricting website that Jackie is and her team has created has all the information on their page. And if you scroll down to the lower part, it has the upcoming meetings. So this is where you can come to get the link when it gets closer. Now there's a January 13th, you said?
Yeah, it's up there. So that's in the next meeting.
Oh, here it is up here. And here's the Zoom. Thank you. There it is. Yep. And so that would be your next one. But in the meantime, if you have any input that you'd like to give, please do send it to Jackie. Jackie, you want to say your email one more time, since yours is the one posted on the website here somewhere?
Sure. You can just click on, I'm the staff liaison, so you can just click on my name there, but it's jguzman@sunnyvale.ca.gov.
Great.
And then I'll just give the website again, and let's see if maybe I can put it in. Do I have to put something in chat?
Sure.
I will put it in chat. Sunnyvale.ca.gov/redistricting. And then I'll put my email there as well.
Excellent. Thank you, Jackie. All right. So anything anyone wants to say on the maps before we let you go, or any questions that you have?
I do. I'm just out of curiosity, if you don't mind, Jackie. What do you know that you could share about how Sunnyvale, the city, has gone about trying to do outreach and the parameters like equal sizes and so forth that they've set as a council. How does that differ from the rest of the California, the rest of the country? There must be some, comparison that you've become aware of.
Yeah, so the criteria is the same for all cities, and in California. There are some federal criteria. So for example, the population equality criteria, and that one, the criteria that the deviation between the largest and the smallest district be less than 10%, that applies to all districts, whether they're congressional districts, state level districts, or city districts, or school districts. That criteria is the same across the board. California also has the California Voting Rights Act, which has specific criteria that we have to follow. And that obviously applies to all jurisdictions with district-based elections in California. So we all have the same set of criteria that we have to follow. What's different is we all have different communities of interest. Our communities look very, very different. And so as we're going through the process, it's really incumbent on us to go out and hear from the community, gather your feedback, and learn what neighborhoods and communities should be kept together in order to elect a council member. We are lucky in Sunnyvale that we went through this process 2 years ago. And so the changes that we need to make are not as drastic as some communities that haven't looked at this for 10 years and have had some dramatic shifts in their demographics and in their development. It'll be a very different story when we look at this in 2030, because I imagine Moffett Park is really going to change the population in District 6. And I believe that there's going to have to be some major changes there. And then we'll see what happens in the other districts. So it's really dependent on the community itself. What's important for us in Sunnyvale is that we are doing robust outreach. So we're going out and trying to talk to as many community members as possible, coming to neighborhood groups like this all across the city, especially where we know that there's going to be an impact and potential changes. We really want to make sure that we hear from different community members. And I've had so many meetings all across the city, I can't even keep count anymore, but I'm trying to document all of that. And it's really our goal that this be a community-driven process. And this is the reason why the staff and even our demographic consultants are not drafting maps. We want community members to draft maps. We want this to be something that is community-led, proposed by the community, that the Redistricting Commission, made of community members, makes the recommendation to council, and council makes their selection based on your input.
Thank you. That's real helpful. I appreciate your taking the time, very much so.
Of course.
How do we get a link to this particular recording so that we could pass that along if it's okay?
I will get that to you. I'll send an email to you, Alice, and if you can send it out to the others as well, that would be great.
I know.
Excellent. Anyone else? Okay, well, thank you again for your time tonight. We hope you found this helpful. We found your input very helpful. So thank you for making the time to help do a great job for our city. So thank you and good
I
night.
appreciate
Thank
the
you.
League of
Thank you.